All right. Good morning, everyone.
We're all up and running.
I think we're good.
All right. Welcome to the 034 Motorsport 0BS live chat. Javad Shadzi. And this is Nate Stewart, and we're here to answer all your questions about all things 034. We switched up a little bit today. See if you guys notice.
No, we're good. All fixed. All right.
Also remember, you cannot believe anything you see or read today.
Nope. It's all live.
Mm-hmm. Actually saw an article this morning about how Trump did executive order to cancel all cash, and Americans in 2027 will use only something called Trump coin. And,
so I wonder if it's going to be a Bitcoin.
Trump cyber money.
Yep.
And I was reading it, and I was like, it's just like when I wake up first.
It's unfortunate that you had to think about that.
And I was just like, this is real? It's like a real reputable media source. And I was just like, and then I scrolled up to see if it was an opinion piece or something, and I was like, oh, April 1st, fuck. But it's like, you just, with a lot of this stuff, you just
don't believe
it's like April 1st every day.
Yep.
So anyways, we're here to answer all your questions. Volkswagen, Audi, anything else you'd like to know about? BMW, performance, turbos, engines, any kind of automotive questions. Also love when you guys ask us questions about our experiences or things we've done or seen or our favorite whatever. Happy to chime in on that stuff as well. So put your question into the comment field of your current social media option, which is Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Feel free to switch to one of the other platforms if you don't like the one you're on. We have plenty of options. Keep in mind, we do deprioritize update questions. These are questions about when something's going to be done or if we're going to do something. We usually don't get to those. Our goal here is to answer topical questions that have real answers. But if we feel that it can be beneficial to chime in on something like that, we will. Just please don't get offended. We're not ignoring you. It's just not the format of this Q&A session. So we got we got an hour, so we got lots of questions rolling in. We'll kind of jump right in on it. This first question is really long.
I'm trying to get there.
I'm at sea level on stage 1 with Jokerz ported blower, 034 belt, 60mm griptec, S34 intake, interchiller. Should I run stage 2? I am assuming at sea level with the chiller, I'll have a higher air mass and air density than pretty much anyone. Can I send you guys data logs to fill in missing tables, potentially? By the way, this is 91, 93 octane files. I bent my high pressure fuel pump housing and the vise when installing the...
This keeps going. Okay, hold on.
So, yeah, that's what I'm saying. So gave up on that and now have a new Hitachi pump without upgraded piston.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, stage 2 is up to you. You can go on our website and look at the specs. It is more boost, it's more power, more acceleration.
Yeah,
it's kind of the sweet spot.
It is, and I mean, I don't know about your wild DA that you may or density you think you might have, but we're happy to look at logs. I'd be surprised if it's off the charts.
No,
low. The interchillers are okay, but I haven't ever seen a log from one that's been like, oh my god, this is like, like liquid nitrogen coming into the motor here.
No, and our tunes are optimized. There's people doing
stuff in
full runs in 0 degree weather.
Yeah,
you're not going to
amazing DAs like 3,000 feet negative. Like it's we've had some wild.
Your interchiller isn't making the ambient air more dense. It's helping with your cooling, but it's not the same as like a 0 degree 5 degree day. That's going to be much higher DA. So we don't do custom tuning. We're not going to help anyone fill in their missing tables.
There shouldn't be any missing tables either.
The good news is there aren't any missing tables. Yeah. So our off-the-shelf tune is developed. We confidently say it's the most developed B8 tune on the market. It has the most engineering time, the most miles, the most revisions, the most modifications, the most testing, the most R&D on it than any tune on the market by far. So there aren't any tables that need to be optimized. If it's happened, we've seen it and we've adjusted the tune to compensate for it. So that's the beauty of a really good off-the-shelf tune, is it's all-encompassing for all the options out there. What you see from tuners that don't put in the work, that don't put in the R&D effort, that don't have the level of engineering that we've put in, is they do such minimal modifications for the tune that it's okay for a very narrow set of circumstances. Once you start getting outside of those circumstances, they're forced to do custom tuning.
Right.
So you see some of these smaller tuners who don't put in the work, bragging that they will customize customer files. Well, that's because they have to, because their base file just isn't very good. So our file will compensate for your interchiller. It will compensate for cool nights. It'll compensate for even the lowest DAs that anyone's seen.
Right. And I mean, it's also comes back to the argument where people argue, well, I got my dyno tuned specifically for my car, and it's like, well, that's great for the conditions that it was tuned in and maybe turned up on the dyno for that day that the dyno was running. Mm-hmm. That doesn't mean that any of the conditions are going to be, similar or better or more optimized because of whatever they changed on that tune on the dyno that day. So you have to be really careful. The dynos, we use the dyno as a tool for measurement and some very specific refinement cases, but a lot of our time and development work is done out in the real world. On the road,
Actually, I'd say majority of the time.
Vast majority of it, yeah. We use the dyno for very specific measuring and testing, and it's unbeatable for a scientific tool to have a repeatable test bed that's you can very accurately control your environment. But for a whole well-rounded tune, it's not usually going to happen on dyno. That's also why OEMs take their cars out for 6-8 months out in the wild, driving through all the conditions on Earth, and they've got the most expensive dynos in the world, and they're still out driving the cars in the real world.
Well, I was going to say, don't take our word for it. Let's take, for example, the Porsche GT3 RS, the Metzger engine.
You keep coming back to that.
It's literally one of the highest specific output motors, normally aspirated motors on Earth. Guess how many custom tunes Porsche does for GT3 and GT3 RS owners? For the highest stressed, highest specific output motor, 0. Because they have very good calibration from the factory. The factory ECU compensates for all the variables of all the cars shipped all around the world. There's cars driving in the Middle East in the desert with optimal tuning. There's GT3 RSs in, Germany in the winter, and all over the world, all over the US with our varied temperature and conditions. There's no custom tunes. Porsche never needs to custom tune a car for someone because it's too hot or too cold or whatever. The ECU is tuned and calibrated such that it can compensate for all those variable conditions. So we keep coming back to this point, this idea or narrative that custom tuning is better than off-the-shelf tune simply isn't true when you have a highly engineered off-the-shelf tune. It will perform substantially better in all the conditions than a custom tune, like Nate said, which is tuned for one very narrow set of conditions, even down to like one day, the weather or humidity on that particular day. It might be perfect, for that dyno session, but a week later, a month later, seasons later, different elevations, they haven't tested any of that stuff. They're not taking your car and driving it on the road. So it's our tune doesn't need to be customized. Yeah.
All right. And you can certainly get into the rabbit hole of chasing a number on a dyno too, where you can make more and more and more power. But again, it's going to be in that super tight set of conditions that you have on the dyno that day. So it's a tool that needs to be used correctly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100% of the dyno tune cars get evaluated for power and acceleration on the street, not the dyno. There's no scenario where someone straps a car on the dyno and accelerates in it and thinks it's really great and says this is a well-tuned car. You got to take.
That's not a scenario here anyway. There are lots of situations where that does happen, where you book an hour, and that's the other thing is like you'll book an hour or two of dyno time. That's like we've barely touched one corner of a map in an hour or two of dyno time. Like that's something that is not going to get you.
It's a good way
to fully rounded.
It's a good way to hit a number, but it's not. It's not. if you go on a dyno and you make a huge power number, you still don't know anything about how that car drives or accelerates on the street.
Yeah.
I mean, you can kind of loosely correlate, but we've seen many times cars that make a number on the dyno that misfire, have issues on the street. The airflow on the street is substantially different than on a dyno. Typically, a motor is going to make quite a bit more power on the street as when the car is moving due to the immense amount of fresh air hitting the front of the car.
Yep.
So, just because it's dyno tuned, it doesn't mean it's going to work in the real world.
Yep.
We touched on a lot of things there, but
that was a big question.
It was a long question. Mk8 GTI running 91 low torque tune monitoring on SPI app. What the knock retard average gauge and ignition timing average both match each other under light load. Can you give explanation on what these values mean?
So the ignition timing is what the actual spark angle is, or what when the spark event happens in relationship to the crank angle for top dead center for that piston. Your knock retard is what the ECU is basically adjusting for that angle. So how much, is it pulling that angle back a little bit further to compensate for, knock and fuel quality and whatnot. So on 91 octane, it's very common to see that moving around a bit. On knock retard, we'll see, 3-4 degrees is pretty common on the higher, on the higher side to see. But generally between 0 and -4 is pretty common on those for the retard. As far as if they're reading the same, that's just coincidence. That's what at the point in your timing map that an ignition angle event was, happened to be roughly the same number as whatever the knock retard was.
There's no reason why those would read the same.
Completely just coincidental from when you were looking at it. The MQB motors in particular run a very low ignition advance compared to what some other motors run. So single digit stuff is quite common on those. So you're gonna be around 0 for some of the maps for sure, or some of the conditions.
What are your 6 favorite gauges to monitor on the SPI when driving?
Oh my goodness. I mean, that's going to depend what I'm looking for. I got all kinds of gauges going all the time when I'm doing stuff.
Yeah. But let's just say under normal driving, if you're just interested in what was going on with the motor.
Temps. You get a lot more temps. We have oil pressure on some cars that you don't get in the factory gauges. Boost, actual boost gauge. That's a big one usually. So it's just usually it's a refinement of, because I'm not using it to stare at while driving. Gauges to be like a quick glance as like just a quick status check on where things are at. So it's usually just a traditional additional gauge you want on the car.
We should have like a rizz gauge. So like when crackles enables, the rizz gauge,
it just keeps building and building.
The longer you do it, the more pops there are, the more rizz builds.
I can make it happen.
Yeah, that's actually a really good idea.
Yeah.
Write that down. On vehicles equipped with factory air suspension, specifically the 4M Q7, is there any performance advantage to using lower links versus lowering with the factory Odis software? I mean, technically, no. The lowering link is tricking the factory controller into lowering the car. Doing it through Odis is also lowering the car. So the mechanical effect is the same. I'm not familiar with doing it through Odis and how well that works.
Usually there's a range that you're allowed to do. So I don't know on that model specifically what it is. It could just be that you've got like a 10 or 20 millimeter range, and you could get more with a link. I don't know offhand what that is.
Yeah, I mean, I know in the SQ7 you can also through the MMI.
Well, this is the different standard, is the different settings, right?
But the lowering links are nice because they just lock it in, and you don't have to mess with it. If you want to make adjustments, you can. If you want to adjust from side to side, even corner to corner, you can do that. So lowering links are cheap, they're easy to install, and they just kind of lock it in, so you don't have to mess with anything. We sell a lot of those. So you guys offer radiators for the B9 S5, upgraded to Wagner Intercooler already. Is the radiator needed? I'm in a hot climate. The all-aluminum radiator is there for increased radiator's capacity and cooling, and it's just it's a nice aluminum construction. So if you need a really durable radiator, not that the factory end tanks are exploding, but it's just a nice constructed all aluminum radiator. It's definitely not needed. I would say it's a nice to have if you want to get in there and put in a nice good quality radiator.
Yeah, if you're replacing yours already for some reason.
Yeah. With the new 401 bootloader unlocking, can you discuss what additional hardware, cables, or tuning boxes would be needed beyond 0 through 4 dongle to program TCUs?
Yep.
Yeah, we can give some initial.
Yep. So
none of what we're gonna say is a promise of anything.
No, it's been well tested at this point, but yes. So no,
we haven't released anything though.
Yeah, right. It's not released yet. You'll see it soon. What it will be is just a dongle and a harness, basically a cable that plugs into it. So you use your existing dongle, your existing SPI app. There's no additional apps. There's nothing else you'll need. It's just a cable that plugs. It's a direct connect cable to your transmission. And then 12 volts and plug the dongle in, and that'll be the extent of what you need to do it. And it's all through the app already. So, yep, it's coming.
Yeah. Did you mention there will be a cable that will be needed to plug?
Yes, yeah. You're going to need we will have a cable. It'll be a direct connection to the transmission, but that's really the only difference.
And it's a one-time thing unless you flash back to stock.
Right,
for now.
Right. And we have a bunch of messages and warnings that'll be up if you're going to go back to full stock. Say, hey, you're going to lose your unlock. You'll have to unlock it with your cable again. Mm-hmm. So just make sure you want to do that.
So we are working on a cable solution that would allow so the cable would go from what, like a
OBD plug. It's literally you just take your current dongle, plugs into that, and then the other end.
So you plug the dongle into the cable. Yep. The other end plugs into the mech.
Yep.
Yeah, and so we are working on producing these cables.
Yeah, we obviously have them in house. It's just we were already ramping up for this for some other stuff, but yeah, we're more rapidizing that now.
We will also spin up a program for any of our dealers to be able to do this as well. So you could even come here to any of our ZTF.
Oh yeah, you're right. Any of our dealers that have the cable will be able to do it for you.
Any of our dealers who buy our cable will be able to do it as well.
It's all, like I said, it's all done through the app. There's no additional hardware other than the cable that are going to be needed.
Sorry if I missed it. Is the TCU tune file confirmed to work with? Well, they're saying the auto tuner unlock, but it's really not an auto tuner unlock.
There's several now.
Yeah. Everyone's doing it.
There's no reason it shouldn't. We've got some that have flashed. I've seen a couple come through that failed. What we're thinking now from talking to some dealers out there is there's some confusion with using these tools and on how to do the unlock. And we think that might be the issue that a couple of people have bumped into, where the tools are really made for tuners that are very familiar with how the tools are working and what they need to do. They're not really a one-click solution for a lot of these. So you've got to know you have to, read out the TCU. You have to know you have to click this other button to unlock it, and then you have to know how and what you need to do for the tool to reflash it onto the transmission. So it's a little clunky, and so some people have missed it. And we've bumped into that a couple times where they think they've unlocked it, but it hasn't been. So, but yes, in general, it should work fine with it. We don't have any of the warnings up yet for all these other unlocks that are out there that will warn you. If you go back to stock, it'll just go back to stock, and you will lose the unlock, and you'll have to get it unlocked again. So that's the only key that's missing, but the rest of it should work.
Yeah. Some follow-up questions on this. The way the 401 bootloaders are flashed, do we have to worry about reflashing our TCUs if a dealership does a software update to it? Yes. Anytime the TCU is flashed back to stock or factory, that protection gets re-enabled.
Yeah, you'll just have to unlock it again after.
That's honestly not a big deal. On transverse cars, take out the factory airbox and can access the mech that way. For Audis, you're gonna have to get under the car and access the transmission. But as far as like DIY goes, it's probably easier than installing a transmission insert for like a
100%
a longitudinal application.
And then the cables. I don't think we have any pricing yet confirmed on the cables.
No, we're working on sourcing connectors, and we will be making them here in house for the time being, just to get them out to market quickly. But that's all. Like I said, you guys are getting behind the scenes, pre-info. Don't hold us to it, and we're doing our best to get this to market as a top priority.
Mm-hmm.
Green screen today. Image of room is mirrored.
No, no green screen.
Good eye, no green screen. Just some
green
trickery. If you notice, our faces are backwards.
Bro, you're giving them all the secrets.
Flipped, yeah. All the secrets. Any events coming up this year you guys are excited for? We will be at Wookiees. I'm also excited for Summerfest, which is our summer event. We just had Winterfest about a month ago, whenever that was, a month and a half ago, and that was really fun. Need to start thinking about Summerfest that's coming up. Actually, it's like in 2 months.
Yeah, right.
But yeah. What year B9 should I go for? Honestly, they're all great.
That decision just changed a bunch this last week too.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it used to be go for an earlier one without the TCU locking issues, but that's now not a problem.
Yeah.
So I would say you got to ask yourself, do you want to spend more like 20 grand or more like 40 grand?
Right.
You know, and are you okay with like 2018 tech, which is honestly pretty good? I have a 2018 Q7. It's got Apple CarPlay and
but it's it's the older version. It's the plug-in.
Yeah.
You have to plug in. It's
which I like.
It's not a touch screen.
I actually prefer.
Yeah, right.
I actually prefer the 2018 model over anything that I've used since. It's rock solid. My GT3 has the same generation MMI. It works every fucking time I plug it in. Pops up on the screen right away. Everything works.
Mine didn't work today. I had to unplug and plug it back in.
Which one?
2018 S5.
Every once in a while, you have to unplug it.
See,
which is
it's
easy
fine.
to do.
It's much easier than dealing with the wireless ones that freak out.
Q7 the other week, I had to. I mean, I spent 20 minutes while I was driving, and then I had to pull over a few times because it won't let you do, and you have to add the phone and remove it, and then for some reason, everyone that gets in the car has to make their own profile, and there's like 70 things, so I deleted all those out, and the Q7, it just works. There's no profiles, there's no settings, it's just, so, but anyways, then you could look at the B9.5s, which are more expensive, but they're going to have the newer tech, nicer overall interior, some extra features. I think the 20... that generation, the facelift, it is a nicer looking car. I do like the front end treatment, the grille, some of the extra bodywork and bumpers, and so it's up to you how much money you want to spend. It's just going to come down to that. If you were serious about performance, I would definitely say go with an earlier car, and then put the extra money into going stage 3 and really building a fun fast car. Driving my Stage 1 Mk8 GTI 380 to a business lunch where I will be the most junior person at the table. Do I order a club sandwich or do I full send the dry aged steak? I'm on the client side. This is an easy one for me. You should tread lightly and make some frugal choices. I think for someone junior to do that would be a serious red flag for me.
Yep.
And I know in that position, when I was in your position, I would be very conservative and order something cheap and reasonable and show that I wasn't there to take advantage of anything, and I was at the table to earn my spot. And that mentality, that tact, has been very successful for me.
Yep.
Recently at a board dinner, I did order the dry aged steak Wagyu, but I deserved it. Right? Our group, our company is having excellent performance, and I didn't feel bad at all knowing what I contributed. So, I would say take a sensible approach. The last thing you want to be seen is that you're taking more than your share, or that you're any kind of parasites.
Being parasitic, being presumptuous of maybe your position. Obviously, it sounds like you said you have the most junior position. So, just treat it with respect and class. Just you're there for the lunch meeting, and enjoy your sandwich.
Yeah, there's something I heard once that is sort of related to this idea, is that millionaires are people who are very good at making money for themselves, billionaires are very good at making a lot of money for other people, and that may or may not be true to a certain extent. But
I feel like that's changed a little bit in some days.
I guess you could argue. I'm not a huge fan of Elon Musk, but you could argue that he's made lots of other people lots of money.
Oh, for sure.
You know,
Yep.
I think the same with Warren Buffett or
Yeah, I would say that's more like a Buffett kind of person where it's not
But
very
that idea of your place at the table isn't to benefit yourself; it's to benefit the group, the team, your client or your vendor or whoever, whatever side you're on. The more you can show that you're there for everyone else's success, the more successful you will be. And it's kind of a counterintuitive thing in this day and age. I think a lot of people feel like they have to gatekeep for their own success. And I think we still do live in a world where the people with power want to surround themselves with people who can make everyone else successful too. And that usually benefits you greatly, much more than if you just try to benefit yourself. All right, one-piece rotors for C7 front and rear, 345, 30, and 330, 22. A direct bolt-on replacement. We currently only offer the rears. We do not offer a one-piece front for that application. Thinking about buying an RS5 with stage 3, anything I should be looking out for? Well, you know, all the basics, good maintenance, you know, making sure that the car is running well, that there's no check engine light, if you can log it or do anything. I don't know what software it's on, or, you know, but if it's on our software, you could ask for a log and you could send it in to us to have us review it. That would tell you a lot. Injectors on these cars do need to be changed or cleaned on a relatively regular basis. But yeah, I think just making sure that it's running good, that it's not.
It's so hard to know, because a stage 3 car means a lot of different things. I don't know any more specifics on it, but hopefully the current owner, it would be much more confidence inspiring if they actually knew a decent amount about the car. It wasn't just like an appliance that they just stuck a stage 3 kit onto and ragged. So it's modded cars. It can go any which way. They can be the best maintained, most pristine examples out there. Or you could have a bunch of questions going into it. So
if you're local, certainly bring it into ZTF.
If you have a good shop, a PPI can go a long way.
PPI on it. How quickly will clutches fry on a stage 2 B8 without a DSG? Need to move the vehicle after DSG replacement?
Oh no, you can move it and drive it just fine. The DSG is going to limit the torque. Like, there shouldn't be, with a proper ECU tune.
Yeah.
There should be no slipping, no issues driving it without a tune on it at all.
Yes.
You're just going to be limited in overall torque. The DSG will cap your available torque, and you'll be fine. But as long as the ECU tune is done properly, it won't cause any issues with the DSG tune.
I don't know off my top of my head number one. I don't know.
Oh yeah, no, I don't know.
Just off the top of my head, I'm not sure
that's
what to say.
No.
As far as like what we have and what we don't have for that. If you guys want to look into it, add some notes.
And list what motor?
I have a B9 A4. Do I need to change oil thickness or spark plugs if I get tuned? Going for charge pipes, intercooler intake, and stage 1 ECU and TCU. Nice. You don't need to change anything for stage 1. Our stage 1 is for a stock car without any modifications. An intercooler is always a benefit, even on stage 1. But I would recommend staying with a factory specification oil. If you want to thicken it up one step from factory, that's fine. I don't know. I'm sure our stage 1 tune works great on factory spark plugs. So unless there's a note or we say anything, nothing else is required. Follow up to the club sandwich question. Commented a half joke question, but Javad and Nate ended up dropping legit wisdom. I think this is my sign to go stage.
Heck yeah.
Well, thank you for taking it well, and yeah, we never know how serious it is, but I've seen stupider things.
Oh my goodness, yes.
Um,
The ability to read the room and
yeah.
position yourself as best as possible in that room is huge in life.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and regardless, you're right. There's just some good wisdom there. So beyond even what you order at lunch. So appreciate that. What are some of the most notable changes on EA888 Gen 4 compared to Gen 3, both mechanically and tuning? It's a totally different.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously a new architect or new motor.
Yeah.
They're architecturally very much the same. The Gen 4 got a lot of updated, like the fuel injection system. It's a 350 bar fuel pressure system, so much higher base pressure that the factory runs at.
Yeah.
Allows for a little more advanced ignition or injection controls. The ECUs, tuning wise, it's just an iteration. It's the strategies and a lot of the fundamental stuff in there is very similar to the older Gen 3 motors. The turbo packaging was a lot better on the Gen 4. They make a lot. Those turbos are really solid factory turbos.
Yeah, really, that's a big.
They're very well matched for their two platforms. Aside from that, I mean, it's just little nuanced details here and there. But I mean, architecturally, fundamentally, they're very similar. So.
Yeah, it's like the bore size,
I mean,
the spacing, the stroke,
the base motor design
is
basically the same. So.
But it is a totally different block.
Totally different motor. It's just
the Gen 3 head's not going to bolt on.
It's just an evolution of. Yeah.
Apollo 240SX does not like the rizz gauge crack and pop.
And then don't show it.
Yeah, you don't have to use it, or we can make it flippable. So when.
Oh, it diminishes. It diminishes.
Pops and bangs.
It starts crackling.
It starts going down. The longer you run it for. So, yeah, we can customize it. It could be a Verispec feature.
Oh, that's just a gauge.
Vari-gauge.
You can already change your gauges.
B8.5 S5 with 56,000 miles and original cats. How much longer should I expect cats to last with stage 1? Obviously we can't say, but I wouldn't be surprised if they went out tomorrow.
We're right. It could be another 100,000 miles.
Yeah, I mean they could literally be cracking right now as you type.
It's really hard to know on the B8s. I mean, in all the factory ones, they have a lifespan.
But I would set your expectations. Maybe stick a $1,500 in a high yield savings account.
There you go. Yeah. But yeah, you can get a obviously you can monitor it with data logs. We'll show you. We let you see both the manifold pressure sensors on the logger. Generally, what will happen if the cats start failing and falling apart is one of those manifold pressures will increase as it's basically getting corked. You'll also get catalyst efficiency codes, and if it gets bad enough, it'll start misfiring. It's not something to ignore. If you do start seeing those symptoms, you really do need to get on top of it. It can hurt a motor quickly. Yeah. Because you're pumping into a cork essentially that's melting down and self-propagating its own demise. So stay on top of it. A lot of people will buy a scope and put a scope in the O2 sensor bung just to monitor and take a look at things from time to time.
It's like a hot dog down a cork. It's not good.
Hot dog down a cork.
I'll
have to think about that.
Yeah. What are the symptoms of the B9 S5 engine mounts going out? I'm feeling vibration in my steering wheel and pedal at 70 to 80. Vibration like that could be caused by a number of things, including wheel balancing issues, or maybe chunk of your tire has come off. So definitely check your wheels and tires.
Could be bent wheel, could be any number of things. But that sounds a lot more like you said, drivetrain.
Usually that kind of vibration signifies that there's a resonance that's developed or created due to something changing or being out of balance. However, it's possible that could be a motor mount. More specifically, failing motor mount, the easiest way would be to see if you see oil leaking from the mount. There is quite a bit of oil inside them, and if the inside valving of the mount fails, the fluid will leak from one chamber to another and eventually leak out. Sometimes the rubber of the mount actually rips and the fluid will squirt out. And so you'll see an oil leak there. You'll also feel potentially more movement in the motor or drivetrain when you get on and off the motor. You can feel like almost like the motor's bouncing. And you can also visually confirm that too by putting the car in drive with the hood open. If you can see the motor, you kind of put your foot on the brake and then load up the engine and see. Sometimes you can see the engine just like lift and then drop back down. But there are limiters that prevent the motor from just flying out of the engine compartment. But those are usually the ways. And honestly, if your car has more than 60,000 miles, they have probably failed. And furthermore, our street density mounts are just a really nice upgrade. Even if your mounts are good, it's still a really nice, worthwhile upgrade. Just for a more tighter, controlled feel when you get on and off the throttle. At Power Boost, says 034 Motorsport is one of the top brands we recommend. Order going out shortly. Well, thank you for your support. It means a lot. We try really hard to earn a reputation like that, so it's always nice to see. Have you guys looked into software for headlights and taillights on B9 C8 4M for unlocking matrix features for headlights and possibilities of rear turn signals to flash dynamically without the brake light like in rest of world Audis?
So, yes, actually. One of our calibrators actually has like the world's most dialed all-track and just recently did a matrix headlight setup. We actually poked around in the evening hours at it a little bit to noodle about adding features, being the ability to flash those. But in the end, he used a different tool. But there's no reason we couldn't. But it has been talked about. It's not something that's on our development list in any way, though.
Would an oil weight increase like 5W30 help oil consumption? Currently on 0W20, about 1.5 quarts I add in 3,000 miles. No, not really. It would be negligible, and it depends on kind of how the leak is leaking. I would say, if you went to like something substantially heavier, it could help a little bit. But usually oil consumption is caused by the piston rings not sealing correctly and allowing oil to go, to cling to the cylinder walls. And then that oil eventually makes its way past the piston up into the combustion chamber, and then it burns. It wouldn't be so bad if the oil didn't burn. The oil would just kind of collect and then drain back. But
Right.
Because it goes into
kind of gets into a slightly hostile environment.
a fire bomb chamber, the oil is burned. But oil can be consumed in other ways, like leaks. So you want to make sure that you don't have a valve cover leak or a myriad of things that can leak on the motor as well. So the best thing is to try to track down the core root cause issue of where your oil consumption is, and then trying to address that. In some cases, if you have the piston ring problem, there's some seafoam and other kind of chemical treatments that you can put in the combustion chamber to soften. Sometimes the piston rings can get crusted up, and there's an oil scraper ring that's supposed to have like a outward spring force, so it's always kind of pushing out on the cylinder wall and scrapes oil as the piston moves up and down. And if those rings get oil in them, and then there's like basically the oil in the rings burns and you're left with carbon, that carbon can crust up the that oil scraper ring, and it will stop being springy. And so if you can get in there with a cleaning treatment that will help kind of break up and loosen that carbon, it stands to reason that you could see that the oil scraper ring could start functioning again.
Look up Berryman's B12 treatment, piston soak.
And you can read about what people have done in their experiences. It's worth doing.
I've seen some people have claimed really good results with it. If that is your particular problem that's causing the oil consumption.
Mm-hmm.
So
Do you have any tunes for a B8.5 A4? Also, thank you for the amazing products. You're welcome. We do not have...
Not for that particular motor, no.
Not for that particular motor, no.
Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
flex fuel B8.5.
We have the earlier B8
Yep.
tunes. Unfortunately, we apologize about that.
Yep.
It's definitely something we would like to do at some point.
Yeah,
there's just so much going on.
There's just so many projects right now. That's one of those. It's a very small market for those. We would love to, obviously, put together something, but...
Someone says, are you guys doing an April Fool's post this year? I don't know, are we? I mean, can't tell you if we are. You'll just have to wait and see. But so far, our formatting for the video is the most April Fool's-y thing we've done so far.
You keep talking about it. It's supposed to be subtle.
I know. Let's see. 2018 Audi Q5 2.0T B9 B9.5 Stage 1 ECU tune. Do I need the TCU? Is it safe? What if I just get the Stage 1 ECU tune with a test pipe?
Whoa, what?
Well, that's not how it works.
Q5.
So you don't need a TCU tune. However, we do recommend one if you'd like faster, more performative shifting from the transmission. It is 100% safe. There is nothing unsafe about our transmission tune. In fact, you could argue that our TCU tune is even safer than factory. I mean, either way, they're both perfectly safe. And a test pipe cannot or should not be used with the Stage 1 ECU. The Stage 1 ECU tune is for the factory catalytic converters. So you would want... a test pipe file, which is for racing and off-road racing competition use. But we do have files to support that. Is that stage? Do we have test pipe files for Stage 1?
For the B9 2-liter? No.
No. This is B9.
Yeah,
It's a B9. So you would need a Stage
B9
2.
2-liter. So yeah, no, you have to run Stage 2.
You would need a Stage 2 tune to run it.
Yeah, the B8 3-liter stuff. The naming thing is all weird.
Halfway through, my brain switched to B8. Yep. Yes, it's B9. So yeah, Stage 2 for B9 would support a test pipe.
Yep.
See, hey guys, I want to run E85, but the legal minimum in Minnesota is only E50. I understand the floor for your tunes is E60. I believe that's only in winter blends, but still, should I be worried? What do you think, Nate? I mean, that's definitely below what we usually recommend.
What measure what it actually is. I think in California it also says E50 to E85 is the range that they're allowed to pump. So it really depends on your station what they're mixing. Because to date we in our area, at least here, E80 is very much the norm. But it says it can be between E50 and E80 still in our pumps. So measure what you got and evaluate from there.
I mean, you could fill a tank, just maybe stay off romping on it wide open throttle. But you could drive a tank of that E50 no problem with the E85 tune.
Yep.
But just be careful getting on power. It might not be safe, right? B9 SQ5 is an intercooler and intake is all you need for Stage 1 Plus. I have both res deletes as well. High pressure fuel pump is the only requirement for 1 Plus. So yeah, you don't need the intercooler and intake is not required. However, it's highly beneficial.
It is very much recommended.
So you'll see a very nice power increase on Stage 1 Plus with intercooler and intake. Even on Stage 1, you'll see a nice power increase with intercooler and intake. So our Stage 1 tune will support a bone stock factory car, but the intercooler and intake are restrictions on the factory car. So once you do those two mods, you unlock quite a bit of extra power in the Stage 1 tune. Should I get the 0-4 intake because everyone else keeps telling me to get one from another brand for a B9 RS5? You should absolutely get ours. Ours is the best B9 RS5 intake on the market. It fits great. It flows substantially more than stock. In our testing, we believe it's probably the highest flowing intake on the market. So I would definitely go with the 034 version, but you're asking someone who's pretty biased. But I do think there's good reasons to support that as well. 2017 Audi Q7. I did a transmission oil pan change. Now when I take off from a complete stop, I feel like a rumble strip feeling. I'm guessing it's a torque converter. Any idea how to fix this? No, you need to have a qualified tech look at this. I don't think we would be able to diagnose this sitting here in this room. At least to have someone, given an hour of troubleshooting or something. But you want to be very careful. You do not want to blow up your transmission if you didn't do that right.
Yep.
Yeah, and ZF8s do require specific ZF8 fluid. So make sure you use the right stuff as well. But it sounds like you might want to get a professional's help right away. Sorry, I might have missed it. Will there be a TTE 710 plus tune rather than just the regular pump ethanol file? And also for mixing ethanol, how accurate does the E60 mix need to be?
710 plus file rather than just the regular pump. What are they calling a 710 plus tune?
I think it's the whole adding a high pressure fuel pump, but you need that anyway.
You need that anyway, yeah. That's what I'm trying to figure out what a plus is.
No, I don't think... Basically, the current 710 tune is a plus tune.
Yeah.
We just don't list it as that because the high pressure fuel pump is required for any stage 3. Yeah. There was
as far as how accurate to mix E60, make sure it's at least E60. Get a gauge. We recommend the fuelet gauges if you want to just add one that you can look at easily. But yeah, we're gonna E60 is obviously the highest output of that, so you want to make sure you're doing a proper mix on that. And if you undershoot, overshoot, just run the E85 file.
Yeah. People are doing Valvoline Restore and Protect oil to clean piston rings, even though it's not VW Audi spec. Thoughts?
People do all kinds of stuff.
Yeah,
VW Audi spec.
I would continue running the spec oil and look into doing some kind of cleaning thing, separately. I can't say how. In general, I stay away from Valvoline. I'm not a big fan, but my opinion is based on, shit from 30 years ago. So I'm not saying don't use Valvoline, but I would use spec oil.
Yeah, make sure it meets the spec.
Do the cleaning.
Yep, that's up.
Because the cleaning stuff you can do separately, and it's not going to affect the long-term operation of your car. I'm sure Valvoline oil probably works fine, but I can't say. I don't want to sit here and tell you something and then you have a problem. Why does 034 not offer an E40 map for the 3.0 T B9?
We shouldn't see the benefit in it when you could run the 1 Plus file with the E85, and it's much, less hassle obviously at the pump. And we feel the straight up E85 is the way to go if you can.
Why do you guys quietly remove parts from your sites? I think every company does.
Yeah, we kind of have to. I mean, are we going to announce that we're removing a part? I guess
we don't do part discontinuation announcements. I've never seen a company do that.
Yeah. I mean, we'll let dealers know depending on the part. Sometimes if it's a disco,
we do send a monthly house cleaning announcement to dealers so that they can take products off their sites and stop. They
don't go and try and reorder a bunch or something.
But that's appropriate because the dealers sell and support these products and they're on their website. We don't want them selling something that's no longer available. But to the open market, I mean, there's stuff I buy on Amazon all the time, and I go back to order it again, and it's
long gone.
The dog picture no longer available or whatever.
And also, we don't remove stuff that is a popular product either. Like it's something that is either run its course, and we're not. It's not a big mover. It's
That's usually what it is. Yeah. But there's times when the product has a quality issue, and we will take it down to address it. because we don't want to sell anymore, and then we will bring it back, once we correct it.
Usually that's not a silent thing, though. We've usually had a good amount of discussion around those at that point. But
yeah.
Follow up that I bought a part, and now I'm wondering if I should install it because it's gone. Well, I mean, you still have it, right? So, I mean, if it's a part you needed and wanted, then...
Yeah, I mean, if you have any concerns, you can always email us. I don't know what part you're referring to, but if it's something that you have a concern, we're always here to answer any questions you have. 99% of the time, I would say absolutely not. If there's something that you need to worry about, if we've ever sold anything and we think anyone needs to worry about it, we will tell you. Like, we do manufacturer recalls just like any major company would. So if you haven't heard anything from us, you could assume that there's no problem, but we're always here. So don't feel like you need to assume. We'll always be here to answer your question. Thoughts on the B10 RS5? We did address this a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, probably 2-3 weeks ago, or probably more than that now.
Yeah, probably a month ago. I've actually learned a few more things since then. But overall, the B10 RS5 is a product of engineering and technology advancements as well as regulatory restrictions and constraints. And with the tightening restrictions, especially in Europe, not the US, because our restrictions are sliding backwards pretty hard. But in Europe, the manufacturers need to clean up their internal combustion emissions outputs. And a great way for them to do that is through electrification or hybridization. And that's one of the reasons you've seen such a strong adoption of electrification by almost all the manufacturers, because even in the US, if you're even a US manufacturer like Chevy or Ford or whatever, the government's telling you you have to have emissions below a certain amount. Well, if you can convert 30% of your product line to electric, that's now free. That's free emissions. There's 0 emissions penalty for selling an EV. And if you can electrify your car some percent, like Audi's doing here, they also receive a benefit. So you're going to see more of this electrification. I think hybridization makes a lot of sense for a lot of reasons. We have an ID Buzz, and we don't take it on long trips because it's just a pain to charge it and deal with that. If the ID Buzz could fill up with gas but do EV driving around town, it's kind of the ultimate. The trade-off, the problem is you now have 2 drivetrains in the car, and that adds a lot of weight. So the RS5 has a twin-turbo V6, which is a great motor, but it's not light. It also now has an electric motor and a battery pack, also not light. So what we've seen in the RS5 is they've been able to add quite a bit of power. They've been able to keep acceleration about the same as the B9, despite adding like 1,000 pounds of weight to it. So I guess the question is, how does it drive with the extra weight? And I think there's some reviews that are out now. And overall, I'm sure it's a fun, great car, but it's not the same as a B9 RS5. It's certainly nothing like the B8.
Any lower number B, it's they're only getting chunkier and chunkier.
Yeah. But the power and acceleration, the acceleration is getting a little quicker each generation, but it is heavier. So the question is, how are they dealing with that weight, and how does it feel when you drive? But overall, I'm excited to see it. I think it'll be a really fun car to tune. If we're able to get in there and bump up the hybrid system as well as the engine power. You could easily get that car to 1,000 horsepower, and then it's going to be a legit fast car. Even despite the weight. So.
Yeah, and the B10 S5 that we have is also a good deal. Heavier and girthier than the B9, and it drives still really well. So
it's a really fun car. So, it's tough seeing the comments on social media. I mean, it's just people just spew all kinds of shit on social media, so it's a little tough to feel like there's any productive discourse out there about it. But we don't get to decide what comes along. We just get to decide what we can do with it. And so that's kind of always our tact is, well, maybe it's not perfect, maybe it's not great, but I've never I've never understood why no one makes a fully electric car with a small diesel generator to constantly charge a battery. There must be some reason why.
There are some that do that. There are a number of drivetrains where the ICE engine is there simply as a generator. I'm trying to think offhand.
I mean, there's plenty of hybrids that are more or less like that. But he's right. I mean, it's not a lot of cars like that. So
it's not a lot, but there are some. I'm trying to think of which ones I was just reading about.
So B10 follow-up engineering advancements in weight. Well, no.
It's a side effect. There's trade-offs.
Yeah, of course. Who knows how much it would have weighed without the engineering advancements. You can assume that lightweight has been used. Like they're not using lead acid batteries. They're not using cast iron engine blocks. So it's a very light execution for what it is. But if you look at BMW, the new hybrid M3 has the same issues. If you look at other hybrid platforms, they're very heavy. It's just I think Porsche's doing it really well with the new 911T, where they have a relatively small battery pack and then the electric turbos. That's I think a really nice
that drivetrain is wild. That is,
and that I don't think
I'm on board for more of that.
I think that's I don't know the weight.
It's a much smaller.
It's
battery
not
pack.
1,000.
Yeah, it's a much smaller battery pack too.
In fact, I've never heard anyone mention the weight of it.
Right.
So it's probably maybe an extra 200 pounds or something.
Yeah,
but it more than makes up for it.
Yes.
But it's the reality is it's probably not helping Porsche much with their emissions regulations.
Yep.
So, Audi's taking the benefit on this one, and they're not penalized by the weight. So, except except by all the Facebook comments.
Oh man, yeah.
Any reason for diverter valve and throttle body upgrades on a stock turbo E85 B9 RS5? We haven't seen a need for that. That's not something we currently support. We will be releasing a super duper throttle body for the B9 applications, including the RS5, and we will release tuning for that, and we'll let you know the benefit once we've done all the testing. But at this time, you can make a surprising amount of power through the very small factory throttle body. But yeah, stay tuned for more as we continue to explore it. Oh gosh, okay, we're running out of time. Hey, curious on the injection strategy on C-Rec engines since it's dual injection. Do the port injectors only open under heavy load or are they used all the time?
Neither of those things. The OEMs use the port injected motors in the exact opposite way. They're on very light load at specific conditions, generally as like a valve cleaning and or some specific injection control strategies.
Because they don't need it for fuel.
They do not use it for wide open throttle. It gets shut off. They're only used on light and partial loaded situations in all of the examples I've ever seen. So,
yeah.
Yep.
But then when we do the tuning,
we repurpose them if needed.
Yeah.
So we will use them.
Probably what they're asking.
We will use them in other ways. So on like ethanol files and stuff, yes, they're certainly being used much more in full load situations.
Yeah. Once you have a calibration from us that the port injectors are being used to help fuel wide open throttle, just because there's just not enough fuel that can be flowed through the FSI injectors.
Yep.
But yeah, and typically the injectors are really small too.
They are. Yeah, the port injectors are tiny.
Because it's just, like Nate said, just to keep things clean.
Yeah, ideally from an OEM side, you want to have the smallest injectors that will do the job you need to do.
Yes.
And since they're only using those at light load, they can run a very small injector. And it's a supplemental thing. It's just for some, additional fuel control that they wanted. It's not the primary supply. So, yep, they're very small injectors.
I think this is the last question we have. Hey, for the B8 S4 tune, can the burbles be controlled with the drive select?
They can, and always, yeah, all of our B8 S4 tunes that we've had, the crackle overrun stuff, has always been drive select mode configured. So in comfort, no burbles. In sport or dynamic, they're back on. So always been that way.
I got one more here. What,
no boy.
As Audi enthusiasts, what do you think about the Q6? Been pondering one. I did test drive one. Really nice EV. The car drove great, had great power, very comfortable. I really like the tech in these newer cars,
Yep.
and the lane assist stuff is the best it's ever been. I think if you're used to kind of the 2021 generation or older, 2022, even 2024 generation or older lane assist, it's pretty rough. It's like it just bounces from left to right.
Pinball,
the new generation stuff, like in the B10, the ID Buzz, all the Audi EVs, it drives in the middle of the lane all the time, and there's no pinballing. So, I mean, you could literally let go of the steering wheel. If it lets you, it starts yelling at you after 10 seconds or whatever. But yeah, they're really nice cars. I like them. If I was in the market for a 5-seater EV SUV, I would definitely go for the Q6.
Yeah, cool. Yeah.
All righty. Well, that's all we have time for this week. Appreciate you guys joining us, and we'll be back. Yeah, we should be able to squeeze one in next week.
We'll try.
Yeah. All right. Cheers, guys.
Cheers.